just a dime store poet, keeping pace, talking his face blue.
I think to make this a little bit easier to connect
Dollar
in the
store
combo,
tramps to get a glance, a new chance at you. Walk past the dance floor that's always been a dear friend of mine. Cuckolds and concubines dancing in 4/4 time.
We have a new leak to talk about. Somebody has leaked an Injustice 3 roster not long after we had the NVIDIA leak that had Injustice 3 be a potential game to be involved. And we now have a roster that is from 4chan, so I'm automatically a little bit suspicious of it, but I'm going to be discussing it with Matty today. It's not even going to be a 0.5 episode of the WraithCast. It's just me and him talking about what the hell we like and what we don't like about it, and what we think are the probabilities of it. Because, you know, it is what it is. Stay tuned! And there he is!
Hi there.
Brilliant! Okay, so, why don't you give us a very, very quick rundown of how you found this leak?
It was literally just, I'm just, scrolling through Twitter, doing as I do,
Yeah.
and I saw this come out, and I was thinking, I think we should address this straight up, but, leaks are still leaks, and you should take them with a grain of salt, which I am doing, but I want them. I want it to be true so badly.
Several.
This is a great roster for me.
Several leaks, in fact. So, I'm going to try...
several? I didn't know several. I just got one.
Several grains of salt. But there's technically several leaks within this one big one. So I'm going to try something new, and I'm actually going to share my screen so that the lovely folks at home can see the link in question, as well as us be able to discuss them directly one at a time. So I'm going to do that, and do that, and voila! Okay, so, okay, so can you see everything okay?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, unfortunately, it does not want to do that. Can you just stay there, please? Thanks. So, first page, we got, I'm presuming we have the Premier skins as well, so, Aquaman...
No, it's on it might be premium skin, but I noticed that on a later slide, it was, what was it? It was Killer Croc and, in brackets, premium skin for King Shark. So, I think these ones here that we're seeing are like who has the mantle in this universe. So like who will be playing as Terry McGinnis? Because otherwise it would do what it did with Killer Croc and have in brackets, like premier skin for XYZ.
Well, let's put a pin in that theory for now. We'll just run through the list and then we'll run.
Yeah, it is definitely reaching a little bit, but
we'll put a pin in that, and then we'll just run through the names, because of what the names will be in the thing. Aquaman,
yes.
Fucking shoo-in. There's no way they're going to drop Aquaman. He's been in the last 2 games, and he's more popular than he's ever been. Same with Batman.
Yes.
There's no way that they're not going to have a Batman in this.
Yeah, I see a couple of mainstays, Aquaman, Batman, Cyborg, but, we'll get to that.
Yeah, Beast Boy, if he doesn't make it into this game with these with the ways to tout the power of the PS5, I would be genuinely surprised. Like, honestly, Beast Boy would be a perfect console seller. Like, for the Xbox Series X and for the PlayStation 5, because technical limitations probably prevented them from... They definitely prevented them from doing Beast Boy back in Injustice 1. And they may have prevented them from doing him on time for Injustice 2. But now, with the fan demand and the more powerful consoles, I can actually see Beast Boy being pretty likely here. Black Canary being in here kind of makes sense too. Blue Beetle, interesting choice, but not one I'm totally opposed to. I don't know about Booster Gold. I don't know about Booster Gold. He seems like a really weird pick for an Injustice roster, unless you like to also specify it's like Ted Cord, you know?
Yeah, especially since the
Beetle, I should clarify.
MK, no, was it MK character fought in a fighter pack or something, but we'll get to that.
I saw the MK fighter, and I think he's got a pretty good shout. Cheshire! Okay, just before we started recording, full clarification, just before I started recording, I saw Judge saying, and I quote, that they chose not to believe in the leak because they refused to believe that Cheshire would get the game before Shiva. In this case, I hope Cheshire kind of doesn't miss out because I don't want to disappoint a Judge. But at the same time, Cheshi could work.
Chesh might work, yeah.
But I don't know if Cheshire would be my first pick for a martial artist lady villain when... Not even for Shiva. When Talia's right there, I don't know if she was in the list, but... I don't know. Constantine seems like a pretty good shout. He almost made the launch roster for Injustice 2, and he was a modifier. And he's pretty damn popular now, so I could see Constantine being in there. Cyborg coming back makes sense. Deathstroke coming back is a big surprise.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Like, I'm guessing they Deadshot got in there because of the Suicide Squad movie, but since Deathstroke was in the Justice League movie and all of this sort of stuff, I can see Deathstroke coming back, but I don't know. Deathstroke seems like a really weird one. Flash, obviously. Flash is Ed Boon's favorite comic book character. There's no fucking way Flash is missing it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Green Arrow coming back makes perfect sense too, because again, he's been a mainstay staple. And this is the guy that makes me think that the slashes mean premier skins. Green Lantern. Now we know Green Lantern by default is always Hal, but then we get Jon Stewart and then Guy Gardner. So I could see there being a little more Lantern representation there making sense, especially since Flash doesn't have a double premier skin right now. So going back up the list, we have Ocean Master, Terry McGinnis, Green Beetle, who I actually have never heard of, but I presume is
that is a Young Justice character. I believe my friend Sam told me.
Interesting. Get some TV originality into the games. It wouldn't be the first time. Just ask next on the list Harley Quinn. If she misses the game, that's another shock. So I think in terms of likeliness to actually be in the game, Aquaman, shoo-in, Batman, shoo-in, Beast Boy's very likely, same with Black Canary, Blue Beetle's kind of likely, Green Beetle would be interesting, but I don't know. Booster Gold I'm a little shaky on, same with Cheshire. Constantine's likely, Cyborg's very likely, Deathstroke's interesting. Gonna put him in between likely and shaky. By the way, I'm gonna use the scale of not happening, probably not happening, shaky, likely, and very likely.
Yeah.
And then if they're shoo-in, then that's the thing. But that's like my scale from 1 to 5. So he's like a 3.5 out of 5. Flash is a 6 out of 5. He's definitely coming. I don't know about Impulse though. Impulse would be interesting, but I don't know if Impulse is actually going to happen. So I'm going to put him in shaky. Green Arrow is almost a shoo-in. Green Lantern's a shoo-in. Jon Stewart's very likely. I don't know about Guy Gardner. He seems likely, but at the same time, why are you...
If anything, definitely a premier skin.
Yeah, definitely. And Harley Quinn is definitely a shoo-in. Next page! We just pause the review. Stop doing that, please. Thank you. Goodness. Joker! As much as
Joker's definitely here to stay.
Yeah, I hate it, but there's no fucking way that Joker's not making it in. Joker, King Shark definitely seems likely because King Shark's got a lot of popularity with the Suicide Squad movie and Kill the Justice League. Luthor coming back, I really like because Superman didn't have that many villains of his own, so Luthor coming back makes sense. Metallo
is interesting because they had, obviously made by the people who make Mortal Kombat, and Terminator was a DLC character, so I imagine they would reuse some Terminator assets for Metallo, because if you
they're very
watch the Metallo
similar.
episodes in like Superman animated series, he was very like Terminator adjacent kind of.
Oh yeah, like I have no doubt that they're going to be reusing some assets in between games. I mean,
Yeah.
Donatello has a bunch of Jade's moves, has a couple of Jade's attacks, and then Jade steals from Donatello in a couple of instances in Mortal Kombat 11, so, for instance. So a lot of asset switches can happen here.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of keen on that. Mirror Master as the Flash villain, I think would be really cool. Interesting.
Yeah, he could definitely shake up the gameplay variety as well. I bet he could have some fucked up moves.
Not even mentioning that, again, like Beast Boy, he would be perfect for a next-gen console seller, because what if he has a move that acts as a mini stage transition that literally just warps
That's
you
funky.
to the next stage, right? And to show off the power of the PlayStation 5 and the might of the Xbox Series X. That's a move that he gets that would be just exclusive to those consoles. And
They gotta be careful not to fall into like. I've noticed a lot of zoning characters in MK11, and I feel like Mirror Master, if they're not careful, could very easily tip into zoning territory.
Trouble is that Injustice is a very zony franchise in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because you got Superman and Supergirl, Deadshot, Deathstroke, Captain Cold, a whole bunch of these characters that are extremely keep away focused. So if you think they're gonna be keep away, they're probably gonna be keep away. Necron. Where are all of the Lantern characters if Necron is going to show up in this game? That's my first big red light that this is a problem, that this is an issue roster. Because if you're gonna do Necron, you're gonna do Brightest Day, Blackest Night, or you're gonna do Blackest Night, right? So where are all the Lanterns? So far we only know, and generally in Injustice there is one other Lantern character, but unlike all the others, with Necron you have to have him as a final boss, which would also mean that you would need more Lanterns. So
But the thing is, right, these are just like the leaked playables. There's no reason why, I don't know, Jessica Cruz couldn't show up in the story but not be playable.
Yeah, well that would be so stupid, but but like again, and we have a bunch of other returning characters like Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul. Here's exactly what I'm talking about. With why is Cheshire here but Shiva isn't? When Ra's is right here, you know?
Yeah.
Like Ra's would be perfect, and Ra's obviously has a bit of a presence in the Injustice universe as a big baddie, so it would make sense for him to come back. Raven coming back is something I'm interested in. Because Raven could use an overhaul, and there aren't very many magic-based characters as is right now, so... Because we have John Connor...
Red Tornado is going to be a lot of fun, I bet.
Oh, I bet you if Red Tornado is actually going to make it in the game, he's going to steal so many of Fujin's moves.
oh, definitely. I was also thinking a little bit of Cabal with the dash move he has.
Ooh, yeah, but he flies super fast past you in order to do that. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Robin / Nightwing. They don't specify who, but I'm going to assume Damian Wayne. And
yeah, because I think Dick is dead in this universe.
Dick is dead in this universe, so
yeah,
and he is dead man.
Rocket was the stupidest fucking one.
Yeah, and he is dead man, so that would make sense. Supergirl coming back makes sense. Superman,
obviously.
Duh. Wonder Woman coming back is a duh. Artemis is a premier skin. Interesting. They have very different signature weapons there. And then the pre-order bonus is Anti-Monitor.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Anti-Monitor.
Me neither.
So I don't know how I feel
all I
about
know is
this.
that the Anti-Monitor is all about Crisis, right? And he's another one that, like the Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was him. So I'm just very puzzled. Again, you have Darkseid as the premier bonus. Okay, fine. Because Brainiac is a big bad that's comparable to Darkseid, so that kind of makes sense. You have one or the other. But if your main bad guy, let's say, is Necron, for whatever reason, why do you have the guy whose main goal is to destroy entire multiverses? There's like a massive disconnect here. It would be like if Chronica was the pre-order bonus, and the final boss was Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 11. There's a disconnect here, you know? So, I think, shoe-in, likely, shaky, I'm just going up and down. Between shaky and likely, very unlikely, shaky, likely, shaky, very likely, shoe-in, shaky, and unlikely for Anti-Monitor. Now comes the interesting one, which, again, stop it. Stop doing that message. Which is Fighter Pack 1. And we're just going to discuss this right away. It's interesting that they make this fighter pack is 4 characters, so we're back to the MKX size. And Etrigan, I dig. I like that. I wonder if
he was cut as well.
Yeah, Livewire was not cut, but there aren't any electric-based characters, which includes a lack of Black Adam, which is very weird, and Shazam, who is a fan-requested character, so they put the electric character...
Shazam is, like, dead.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, but, you know, you could have him replaced with, like,
they put Green Arrow back, so they could.
Yeah. But the point is that nobody else on the roster has electric. Here, I think if I just do that to go back, nobody here has like strictly electric-based abilities. Like they might have like super speed and whatever, but none of them are strictly electricity-based. And as a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. It's the same size as Injustice 2. I could actually buy that size. So, Livewire being the electric character that ends up in the fighter pack, they have to do an electric character. They almost always do, so I actually think she's quite likely. Johnny Cage.
Yeah, now this is... I feel like, assuming they do bring in Booster, I feel like Brewster is basically like the Johnny Cage of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's like, but like with more time travel with this.
Personality-wise, he's very similar to Johnny Cage.
Personality-wise, he is Johnny Cage. He's not like the same character. But I feel like they brought in Booster and they were like, okay, it's tradition to bring in an MK character who we're gonna bring, who plays well off the new ones. Booster, Johnny, it works. I see it.
Oh, wait a minute! I misread the fighter pack thing entirely. It's actually a 3-character fighter pack, like in Injustice 2. But
yeah, this is also what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So you got the stage now.
Bro, I thought you were gonna do a bit more. But yeah, so like the fact that they took the time to note that Killer Croc will not be in the game, he is a skin for King Shark, when, if you can just like go back to the other ones for a second.
Which one? This one here?
Either one, it doesn't matter, because they all, the one with the slashes signal to me like, in this, topsy-turvy Injustice universe, these are the people who have the mantle now. So we won't be playing as Bruce Wayne, we'll be playing as Terry as Batman. And like a couple of like the Rita reveal and the lanterns, yeah, I can see those being like, what am I trying to say?
You could see Blue
like
Beetle
different characters on the roster. They're just like lumping them under one because they share the same, like
they're the TMNT, basically.
Yeah, like the TMNT, So like you could play as Green Lantern, and then instead of like shaders, you would swap to like the permanent skins. But they are like individual characters in their own right.
So, okay. Well, we know for sure that with Injustice, they like to or with Injustice, they like to push the boat out a little bit, and then they like to try and expand on different ideas. With the Premier skins, we just got fancy skins. We basically got clone characters, right? Like they had the exact same moves and all of that. But for the very last update, we had the TMNT. And the TMNT, evidently, while some were worried that they would be like Premier skins, they were not. They were only like Premier skins in the faintest of terms. And then for tournament mode, for like the esports stuff, they added a way for you to actually like switch between the turtles without having to go into the gear menu. But they did the same for all of the characters with Premier skins. So I'm almost wondering if when they say Premier skins, they actually mean like, we'll call them EX skins instead. And Ocean Master might have similar normals to Aquaman because they trained in a similar fashion, but Ocean Master has more. Maybe he doesn't have as good of command of the sea, so he makes up for it by using either more elemental capabilities or more savage attacks.
Yeah.
Terry McGinnis. That's your theory?
That's my theory. It's one of two. It's either that, and it's like, you go to the roster and you select Aquaman, and then you go to the gear menu and you switch to Ocean Master within that, like the TMNT, or it's just like, you go to the roster and then it's like Aquaman, and then Ocean Master is right next to him, and he's like his own playable character, and they're just lumped together here on this list because they share similar move sets, you know, with like variations.
Kind of like how some. It's been a while since I played Smash Ultimate, but I'm pretty sure that in Smash Ultimate they have the Echo characters right next to each other.
I don't know, I've never played Smash in my life.
Yeah.
That's not true. I played Super Smash Flash, and that was like my whole thing.
Well, that's Super Smash Flash, right? It's not the same sort of thing. So I'm almost wondering then if by Premier skin they potentially mean an EX skin, because Killer Croc and King Shark are similar. They're big boy aquatic monsters. But we've seen King Shark.
They like to jump.
Yeah, and they like to jump. And they like to implement but they kind of approach things a little bit differently. Like King Shark sticks more to the water, Croc has more of a wrestling background. So maybe this is the case where Killer Croc is technically a Premier skin for King Shark, but he's again a Premier skin like the TMNT. Because Killer Croc, fun fact, was actually playable in a version of Injustice.
Oh, nice.
Injustice 1 Mobile.
I see, because I knew he had a cameo in a scene transition with the Batcave in Injustice 2, and because of that, it's like he will at least show up in a wider capacity in Injustice 3. I'm sure of that.
Totally. He's made cameo appearances in both Injustice games. He was in one of the transitions in the Arkham Asylum stage, but the thing about Injustice 1 was that they basically ripped a bunch of Arkham models and used them because at the time of Injustice 1's development, they were NetherRealm had released their very first mobile game, Arkham City Lockdown. That's right. NetherRealm worked on an Arkham game, which is wild to think about. But in that means they had access to models and things, and they even snuck in a little Easter egg in Arkham City Lockdown where you could fight Kano, which is very cool. But Killer Croc shows up in the transitions, and then I believe in 2017, because they were still doing new characters for Injustice 1 at the time, they haven't shut down the servers for that game yet, they had Killer Croc. And Killer Croc had his own moveset and his own super move, where he tackles you into a sewer, chomps on your shoulder, punches you down to the depths of the sewer, then swims up, grabs you from below, and then does like a flying knee smash, where he lands and then smashes your knee into your face into his knee. And I'm like, man, That's what made me think that Killer Croc was going to be in Injustice 2, just like Deadshot, because Deadshot was in Injustice 1 mobile, and then he ended up in the game. Same with Darkseid, and Static was rumored to be in the game at the time. So, and Static was in Injustice 1 mobile with his own moveset, and we were thinking, hey, that could be pretty cool. But
that's another thing.
Yeah.
That my friend Sam pointed out is he's not that like pumped the live wire, because it could have been Static or Black Lightning as a full playable character instead of just a Premier skin. Which, like, I agree with. Yeah, either one of those would be cool.
Yeah. Which is a bit dicey. But on the topic of that, that's why I was so hoping for the mobile games thing to be true, but now it's more 50-50 now. Because what happened was that Mortal Kombat X mobile at the time leaked Kenshi as a playable character, and Darkseid and Deadshot from Injustice 1 ended up in Injustice 2, and we figured, hey, maybe this is a reliable indicator. But Killer Croc wasn't in Injustice 2. Static Shock just missed the cut for Injustice 2. The Arkham Knight is not in Injustice 2. Yes, the Arkham Knight's a playable character in Injustice 1 mobile. Cassandra Cain didn't make it, even though she was technically kind of a premier skin for Batgirl. And I think there was a couple others that didn't quite make it into Injustice 2. But we also have in Injustice 2 mobile, which is the next page that we're going to talk about before we... But actually, before we get to that, I want to talk about this. He-Man, Neo, and Fire God Liu Kang will be the remaining 3 guest characters, but I'm unsure of the rest of the DLC for the DC side of the characters. He-Man, I think is a sure bet, because he actually crossed over with Injustice in the comics. So I think he's going to be in. Neo seems weird to me.
They have been trying to get him in MK for a while, though, haven't they?
Yeah, since MK9. That's reason number one why I'm like, that's an interesting one, but not one I'm going to count out. But also, what are guest characters good for?
Promo, Matrix 4.
Yes! That's it! We know Matrix 4 is coming relatively soon, and Matrix is owned by the WB crew. So, Neo seems like a pretty good shout. He-Man, I think, already has a series out, and he already crossed over with Injustice, but at the same time, he's right there. And I could totally see him playing, like, Kotal Khan with less sun and more magic. Like, he's got a giant sword, a massive physique, and he can even call in his giant tiger steed instead of turning into a tiger. That'd be sweet. And then there's Fire God Liu Kang. Are we really going to be doing 2 Mortal Kombat characters again?
That one's a weird one.
And I get the idea, like... Go ahead. Sorry, I need to think.
Oh, that was alright. I thought you were going to... yeah, like, alright, I don't mind the double MK characters. Like, it's, you know, owned by NetherRealm. They're going to plug their own product, because of course they are. It's whatever. It doesn't mean much to me. Why Fire God Liu Kang specifically? Like, what is it about Fire God Liu Kang? I mean, yeah, you couldn't just, like, put in Liu Kang and be done with it?
I'm thinking it's got something to do with this interwoven thing that they're trying. Like, I'm not sure if you've heard some of the intros, but Cetrion knows about the DC universe.
Oh.
And she calls it the world beyond the realms. And Sub-Zero even asked about it, like, then Raiden and I did go there, and it wasn't, she confirms, it was no dream, Sub-Zero. So, and we also know that Joker is kind of a grittier version of the MK versus DC Joker, because he recognizes Sonya, he recognizes Scorpion, Cassie has questions about him. So I think they're beginning to build up towards an MK versus DC 2. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to take the current Protector of the Realms, Fire God Liu Kang, and have him be a playable character where he intentionally crosses over and Johnny joins by accident.
I can see Johnny accidentally getting sucked into a portal because he was too much of an idiot.
Something like that for sure. But okay, I'm gonna say likely for Johnny Cage. Shaky for Killer Croc, but because of our current theory, I'm gonna actually put him between shaky and likely. Likely, very likely for Neo, and shaky for Fire God Liu Kang. I'm not gonna count him out.
You know what? I just had a thought.
What?
Since this is just like a leak and we don't have anything official, so this might not come out until 2024.
We're actually gonna get to that because
25.
no, we're gonna get to that because they actually do say that they have a release date.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But you're thinking that there's
I see it here because I've got it up on my screen too. 2022. Okay, but like, here's what I'm thinking. They had the live-action Mortal Kombat movie not too long ago, and that teased Johnny Cage at the end of it.
Right.
So I'm thinking they put in Johnny Cage, and then that promo's for the sequel. For the live-action. More, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. I can totally see that. And fighter packs tend to come a little bit later, and who knows? Maybe he is sporting a look we didn't recognize, and it turns out, oh shit, that's 2021. I think it would be hilarious, though, if it turned out we didn't get Fire God Liu Kang, but we got Cole Young.
Oh god.
A double guest squared. But speaking of that release date thingamajig, here's the next page. So, yeah, I just several characters will be borrowing ideas from the previous NetherRealm Studios games in terms of gameplay and specials, as they always do. I just talked about this. We just mentioned it with Fujin, and they even talk about it. Red Tornado will borrow from MK11's Fujin, Metallo will borrow from MK11's Terminator, and Constantine will borrow from MK11's Shang Tsung. That makes sense.
I didn't really read this last page, so I'm happy I guessed Terminator.
Yeah. And I do like the idea of Constantine borrowing from Shang Tsung because
Shang Tsung's pretty good.
They made an emphasis specifically of giving Shang Tsung more magic to play with, so he felt more like a sorcerer. Like when he's summoning magma claw swipes for his sweep and using more soul magic and that sort of thing. So I'm thinking that could make sense, and we know a potential move for Constantine. Because his assist in Injustice 2 was he sets down like a fire circle thing, and if the opponent steps in it, they get stunned for a combo. So a little mine like that, I think they would bring back. Pardon me, I will be right back.
That's no problem.
Schlick. Hello, sorry. Tank Trouble's upstairs trying to save our skin.
Sorry. It's muted for a little bit.
Awesome. So, anyways, like I was saying, so this all makes sense, and this next bit makes sense. Injustice 2 Mobile will be rebranded to just Injustice Mobile, and the original game will be discontinued. Very unfortunate, but the original mobile game is the longest-running NetherRealm mobile game, so I figured it was about time before it got killed. However, all of those characters that were exclusive to the first mobile title, as well as the new characters in Injustice 3, will slowly be brought over to Injustice Mobile as a mixture of store characters, raid characters, and challenge characters. They've already... Oh, that's right! I forgot about this! They have already begun doing this with Deathstroke and Raven having been added. I forgot they did Deathstroke already as a raid boss. Funny enough, apparently Deathstroke is absolutely terrible in Injustice 2. But still! I totally didn't think about that. So that's one point in the league's favor. They have definitely confirmed this, which leads me to the Injustice 2 exclusive characters, which there's a couple of that kind of act as premier skins. Batwoman is in the game, as is several CW like exclusive skins and characters and whatnot. The Arkham Knight Batman. They also have Silver Banshee.
Oh.
But she's a Black Canary clone.
I'll take it.
I believe that's it. I'm actually gonna very quickly double check. I'm just gonna pause the.
Yeah, no.
I'm just gonna pause the screen sharing for now, but I'm just gonna have a very quick look. Injustice to exclude.
Did like a couple of the towers, and I didn't do any of the multiverse crap.
Yeah. Like, okay, here we go. So we've got Batman Ninja characters. Oh, that's another one! Okay, so this is for Injustice 1 mobile exclusive, but that's good enough for me. We have... I'm going to share my screen here. Go live. Wow, boom. So we have Arkham Knight Batman, who's also in Injustice 2. The Ninja Bat characters, who also ended up in Injustice 2. The Suicide Squad folks. Injustice 2 versions of certain characters. Look who else is exclusive to Injustice 1 Mobile.
I can't, the screenshot is not.
Oh, well, that's shitty. It's Jessica Cruz.
Ah.
Others are Arkham Origins versions of certain characters. Cassandra Cain, as I mentioned before. Gotham by Gaslight Batman, a version of Ares. Killer Croc specifically.
There we go.
There we are. Classic Scorpion, MKX Scorpion, Rebirth Raven, Batman Returns Catwoman. A lot of these are just skins and sorts of things, but here's another one. The Arkham Knight, as I mentioned before. Wally West is exclusive to this. There's a couple of different Harleys and the aforementioned Deadshots, which, interestingly enough, there's Deadshot Arkham Origins, which I guess is just a skin that just didn't show up, but that is weird. Darkseid, evidently. Static, a Green Lantern Sinestro. There's a and this is just for Injustice 1. It doesn't look like I have the Injustice 2 exclusive characters, but yeah, Killer Croc and a bunch of others are in here too. Here we go. Heroes, Injustice 2 Mobile. Let's see. Aquaman, Atrocitus, Bane, Batman. Sorry that we're kind of sidetracked by the list here. Batwoman, as I mentioned before. Captain Cold, the Cheetah, Cyborg, Darkseid, Deadshot, Dr. Fate, Enchantress, Firestorm, Flash, Grodd, Green Arrow, Lantern, Grid, Hellboy, Joker, Martian Manhunter. That's another one from Injustice 1 to Injustice 2 that only made it in here. Then there's Nightwing, but I think it's just Damian Wayne Nightwing, so he just has the staff. Nightwing is there. As confirmed, Raven is back. Raven is back with... Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there is a design here, but it's definitely Raven is back. Verse Flash, various Robins. Shazam is also back. Yep. Vixen gets her own thing. White Canary is also a character. By the way, when it says multiverse, they mean the CW show.
Sarah wants.
Yeah. Where is... That's not what I want. I swear Silver Banshee's in here. Yeah, there she is. She was below Shazam and I just missed her. But, yeah, so there's a lot of characters that are inside of the mobile games for Injustice that don't show up anywhere else that I feel like they could potentially pull from as future editions as well. Because we don't know all the DLC characters. We only know, if they're going to do just 3 characters, we only know of, even if some of them return as just premier skins, we only know of a quarter. So that could lead to things like White Canary being a premier skin for Black Canary. We see the Arkham Knight of all characters show up because she kind of became her own character and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So there's just a multitude of things that could happen. That the mobile thing is both a key thing to watch out for and very unpredictable. So that's one of those things that you just kind of have to side-eye.
Yeah. I kind of hope Zatanna makes it back in some capacity. She was very fun in Injustice 1, but she could have done with a little more fleshing out, I feel like.
Yeah, I get you. And that's the other thing, too. We know for sure that the repeat characters angle is total bunk now. Because they've said before that they wouldn't want to repeat they wouldn't want to repeat DLC characters, or, you know, if they are going to come back, they are going to be original characters. Or original characters, like launch characters, like Kenshi was.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat 11, right at the end of its DLC development, broke that rule. Because of Rain. Rain has only ever been DLC in the NetherRealm era Mortal Kombat games. He was DLC in MK9, and he is DLC in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. So, that leads me to believe that DLC characters that didn't make it, or DLC characters that didn't make it into Injustice 2, or vice versa, are fair game. So, there's a chance that we could see the likes of Zatanna, Lobo, Zod, who are some, Black Manta, Red Hood, Starfire. Some of these characters could come back as well.
Yeah.
We'll get to our final believability of the leak thing right at the end here, because we also have the date. The reveal will take place at the Game Awards again, and will be presented by Jeff Keighley and Ed Boon. Release will be in May 2022. Now, we've been burned by DC Fandom once before, because we thought maybe Injustice was going to be there, but Injustice didn't end up being there. Of course, it could have been just because of the pandemic.
Yeah, very weird to me they did not announce the DC game at the DC event.
Yeah, probably for various reasons. They were probably still working on MK11 at the time, so I'm willing to just kind of cast that by the wayside. But if this leak wanted to, for lack of a better term, try really hard, you know what I mean? Like, try really hard to look legit, it would say that they would be announced at DC Fandom. But the fact that they say specifically the Game Awards, which are in December, leads me to believe that this is actually a little bit more legit than first glance. Only a little bit, though. Because there are some characters that have been in both games that are not in the third. No Black Adam, for example. Black Adam is nowhere to be seen in this roster. And it could just be because they want to drop Black Adam, which is fine, because I always found it weird that Black Adam came back. But Black Adam has a movie coming out, so he could be DLC, for instance. And speaking of the Black Adam movie, where's Dr. Fate? Where's the rest of the Justice Society? What about... Oh,
they dropped Enchantress, too.
Yeah, they did. And, of course, this is just speculation at this point, because, again, these guys could end up being DLC if this leak is completely legit. I'm going to overall give this leak a rating of keep an eye on it. So basically a 2.5 out of 5 in legitimacy. I don't entirely believe that it's legit. I'm not entirely, because there's some weird things here that I don't necessarily buy as being legit. Like if they are going to do, like, why are they having Necron and Anti-Monitor? There's a clash there, you know? Why Necron specifically as well? Because Necron's a Black Lantern guy. Blackest Night, it's right there. But at the same time, there are things that make sense. A lot of the returning characters, a lot of the fan-requested characters coming back, who they have for some of the DLC, and they even do back up some of their evidence with some things that do make sense. The mobile things. This does follow along the lines of of what happened in Mortal Kombat. It became MK Mobile instead of MKX Mobile, for instance, and they had done big changes and included the MK11 characters, and with Injustice they would do the same thing. And they do back it up with something that has actually happened, namely Deathstroke and Raven coming back. They also say several characters borrowing ideas. That's totally something that NetherRealm does. Although, if I'm going to be completely honest, I thought that what they were going to borrow from Fujin was the crossbow, and then we'd get Huntress in the game, but, you know.
Yeah.
I
think it's just like his moveset translates a little better to Red Tornado, and it's just like less assets they have to actually create, and it's more stuff they can reuse.
Oh yeah,
like more about like economy than.
Totally. It was just that's just what I thought. So that's why it's a 2.5, because there's elements here that are definitely true, and elements that show that if this is a fake leak, these guys have done their research. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just some haphazard random list passed off as a leak. This one's actually kind of well thought out if it's fake. Which I have to assume it is fake. But NetherRealm's a pretty leaky boat, so that's why it's like a 2.5 out of 5. It's one we should keep an eye on, but not necessarily one that we should fully believe. And I think the clincher for it being where it is and not lower is this right here. It seems almost it seems almost too easy for it to show up at Fandom. Maybe it will, and completely and largely delegitimize this leak. But if it doesn't show up at DC Fandom, that's actually another point in the leak's favor. So, what are your thoughts on this leak overall?
I think, because like the behind-the-scenes stuff, you know, the discontinuing and the reusing assets in the Game Awards, that's all well and good, but I'm thinking more about the characters and how that would fit with New King. Because it makes sense they would want to try and shake up the roster a little bit, so they're throwing in these wild cards, you know, Beast Boy and Metallo, and who else is on the list? Cheshire, I guess, and Constantine. Cheshire. Mix it up, and it would make sense. But again, I don't really buy fully into it, because obviously you should never buy fully into any leak unless like it's backed up by 50 different sources.
So, what that sounds like to me is, I'm with you on that one. Like, don't believe any of the leaks that you see unless it's like what I like to call the desktop leak for Mortal Kombat 11. Which, for those who are not in the know, I think it was a couple of months before Mortal Kombat 11 came out. I think it was either February or March, sometime around there in 2019, that an employee at NetherRealm Studios literally was just like, here's my fucking workstation. While he was designing art for Liu Kang and all of these characters. Like, we got to see basically 2/3 of the roster before they were even announced. We got to see Cyberfrost, we got to see Collector, we got to see notes for things like Gearus and Cetrion, and even Melina was in that roster leak, and she ended up coming back from being cut. But like, that is like the holy grail of leaks, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you got, like, it's the stereotypical, oh, if you were at NetherRealm and you were able to leak one thing, what would you leak? You know, as if you'd be able to get inside of a corporation's main studio with hundreds of people around, snap a pic of one of their workstations and get out of there without getting escorted by security with your phone potentially being confiscated for evidence, you know?
Yeah. Although I do think the whole leaking thing is stupid. Not the act of leaking, but like the fact that it has to exist. I think they could at least give us the roster. You know what I mean?
Like, where they leak the roster?
No. Like, NetherRealm comes out and say, look, we don't want to spoil everything. We don't want to give away designs and gameplay. But we will give you, like, just the names of the characters that will be in the game. And like, obviously, they don't have to give every character. They can just give us like the base roster, and I think they could do that without too much damage.
The big thing too is that the only thing is that NetherRealm's marketing system relies on surprise.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Right? Like, they tease a character, people speculate, character drops. We were right, or we were terribly wrong. Oh, this character looks cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But then again, that just proves my point, because like it's kind of stupid. It's fun, but like there's ways to surprise your audience and still like throw them a bone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like NetherRealm, you can give us the base roster, and I don't think
Or even just
too mad.
Or even just who's coming back.
Yeah, just give us for the repeats.
Yeah, like who from Injustice 1 and 2 are coming back. And if we count the... But I want to very quickly count the definite new characters. I'm not going to count any slashes. Just to see. The Beast Boy, Cheshire, Constantine, King Shark, Metallo, Mirror Master, Necron, Raish, Raven, Red Tornado.
Oh, I had a point about Necron and Anti-Monitor, but you finish your thing.
I'm just finishing my counts. 10 new characters out of 28. I don't know if that seems high or not, but Injustice 2 did have a similarly massive new roster, right? With like Grodd and Canary and Scarecrow,
Enchantress, and etc., etc.
So, what was your thing with Necron and Anti-Monitor?
Right, so I hope they don't do this, because it would just be repeating the second game again, but I have an inkling that it will be like the plot of Injustice 2, where, you know, Superman is the big bad because he's come like a fascist now, but then they bring in a bigger bad with Brainiac, and they're like, okay, we will make peace temporarily, go defeat Brainiac, and then once we've done that, then we will sort this out. And I feel like that could happen here. So like they bring in Necron, and it's like he's the big bad, and then they bring in Anti-Monitor as like the bigger bad. They have to team up with Necron, go beat Anti-Monitor, and then afterwards they fight Necron.
Interesting.
And that's where I'm at.
Interesting that you use the Anti-Monitor as who's the pre-order character as the final boss, because Mortal Kombat 11 did do something that they haven't done in previous NetherRealm games that leads to your point. Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn was in the story mode at launch.
Yeah.
And he was also the pre-order bonus.
Nice, I didn't know that.
Interesting, right?
Yeah,
Because
and also, and MK11, I'm thinking about it in like, how could it work as a boss fight mechanically as well as narratively? And the thing about Anti-Monitor or Necron, right, is that like Necron has a physical thing, right? He's got the Black Lantern ring. So, and you think back to MK11 with Chronica and like the Crown of Time, and then the ladder modes were like, oh, what would this character do if they got the Crown of Time? I think it's gonna be like that, where, assuming it's the team up, go fight Anti-Monitor, come back, fight Necron thing, it would be like, so Necron is the final boss, and maybe he'll be a little bit easier than Anti-Monitor, but I don't know. NetherRealm's always been bullshit with that difficulty scaling, I think. But that's besides the point. And then, like, in the ladder mode, it will be like you build up to fight Necron, and then it's like, what would this character do with the Black Lantern ring? And something like that.
I think that would make more sense if it was more the opposite, where Necron's the sub-boss of the arcade mode, and then the Anti-Monitor is the final boss, and then you beat the...
Oh, that can make sense also. If Anti-Monitor was the final boss of the story, and the Necron was the final boss of the arcade mode.
Or something like that. Because I'm thinking I'm thinking more so the Anti-Monitor is the final boss of the arcade mode, because what would your character do if they had the power to create and destroy multiverses? You know? Like, what would Red Tornado do? What would Supergirl do? What would King Shark do when he got his hands on the powers to create universes.
Well, I guess they could hand wave it with, like, I don't know, the ability to transfer power. Because, like I said, I'm thinking about the arcade mode as a physical thing. So, again, Kronika's crown, Necron's Black Lantern ring.
Yeah.
And, like, that kind of defeating and taking the power. But I guess they could narratively hand wave it with, like, I don't know, some kind of MacGuffin that transfers their anti-monitor's powers into them.
It could even be in two parts, where you get Necron's Black Lantern ring, and you use it to defeat the Anti-Monitor, and the Anti-Monitor's power transfers into you through the power of the Black Lantern ring, destroying the Black Lantern ring in the process. Just something to think about, because that's a really cool idea. Okay, is there anything else you want to very quickly talk about the leak? Anything you like or don't like? Like assuming
not really.
assuming it's 100%
I'm interested in these new characters. I will say that. I'm very interested in these new characters if they are true, especially Metallo. I hope they vary him a little bit more from Terminator, because I don't just want to play like Terminator again.
Yeah, totally. And if we're going to be talking about next gen, right, I'm not entirely convinced that if Injustice 3 were to come, it would not be, like, exclusive to PS5 and Xbox Series X.
No, this feels like a double release as we all like shifting into the next gen, but I don't think they've completely phased out PS4 and Xbox One.
Like they kind of did this with the tricky thing with it is that we have Injustice: Gods Among Us, which was released on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and they released the Ultimate Edition on PS4 and Xbox One, and I think on the Wii U, weirdly enough. But the thing is, they were also working on a PS3 and Xbox 360 version of Mortal Kombat X, but that got cut partway through development. So that's why I'm a little bit wary about them, like, making a PS4 and Xbox One version of Injustice 3. They could do it, but I'm just a little bit tentative, shaky about it, because they already did the upgrades for Mortal Kombat 11 to the next-gen consoles. So that's why I'm a little bit dicey on that one. It could happen, because we're still in that transition phase, right? Yeah. But the way I'm seeing it, Beast Boy could probably happen on PS4 and stuff, but if they decide to have Mirror Master be able to do anywhere stage transitions with a certain special move, or even during a super move, that's kind of scary power-wise, and that would probably require a PS5. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe, but I don't know. The one thing I can immediately tell you I don't like about this roster is that Joker's back, but, you know.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do? Joker's kind of stuck there for eons and eons and all this shit, but whatever. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Matty, for basically notifying me about this leak.
No problem. You should do more 0.5 episodes. This is fun.
Oh yeah. So yeah, this will be a 0.5 episode. Now that I think about it, it's perfect. I did the very first one I actually did was with Judge for Shiva, which was super duper. Or technically, if you were to count it, it would actually be Fishbowl with when we thought Marvel characters were going to be in another Realm game, and then it's just kind of become this thing, and I'm like, hey, I like the idea, so let's do it. Anything you want me to? Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I think I've covered all my points. I won't really have any more thoughts until the Game Awards, I suppose.
Or DC Fandom.
Or Fandom, or whenever it is we get a trailer of some kind.
Yeah, if they decide to drop this at Fandom, I think that would be hilarious, because it's like, you're banking. It's like, if they this is just if they made this leak up, but then they were like, we should do this at the Game Awards because that seems more likely, makes sense. But if it shows up at DC Fandom, it's just like, hey man. But if it does show up at the Game Awards, then all the more accurate, right? So, I don't normally talk about leaks on this, but this was a very interesting leak. As soon as I saw Ocean Master in the base roster, I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, we got to talk about this. So, this will actually be up later today. This is going to be one of those ones where I take a couple days to upload it. No, this is going up ASAP, because I want to get ahead of the curve. So, don't forget to be awesome, my friends. I'll see you guys on the other side. And let me know what you think about this crazy, crazy leak.